Yeah, the Teamsters are not endorsing anyone for the presidency. And apparently, internal polling showed 60% of Teamsters union workers supported endorsing Trump versus 34% for Harris. Now, excluding the conspiratorial belief that the union somehow fiddled with this poll and it's non-representative of the of the Teamsters union, which I don't think that's true. I think it is representative. Unfortunately, democracy, it's for the people, by the people, of the people, but the people are what are the people, chat? Answer me. What are the people? You know what they are. The Teamsters union does not have the brass balls that the UAW does. Oh, speaking of, guess what came in the mail today? Ain't that cute? That's my election drip this year. That's my voters are all morons. Yeah, that's true. Sorry to be down there. How much did it cost? Oh, like $30. It's just the previous straw poll of Teamsters had Biden up a few points over Trump, then it flipped after the dropout. Oh, you think they're racist or sexist? Here's their full statement. Like, again, if you are a member of a union and you are pro-Trump, I'm taking this as a cognitive deficiency. I'm really sorry. There's just no two ways about it. Genuinely. Like, you are... Like, it's... again, it's... You have to know... It's informed simplicity. It's informed simplicity. Sometimes you have to know enough to know when it's simple. You have to have a complex enough understanding to know when it's simple. Trump literally hates unions and said the unions got to Biden in that interview. Yeah. The contempt that Donald Trump has for unions isn't like a secret, Trump also praised Elon Musk for union busting. Yeah. The Teamsters seem to hate unions too. Yeah, well, unfortunately, being part of a union does not necessarily mean that you are class conscious. You might just stumble into that shit. I mean, keep in mind, far more Americans were in unions back in the 1950s and 60s than they are today, and a lot of them were rabid anti-socialists, You had guys who were working at, like, the bang a piece of metal with a pipe wrench factory, a union job, which they can afford a suburban house off one income, from. They go back home to their wife, and they're like, yeah, I kept an eye out, but I didn't see any communists at work today. Not necessarily a relationship from what people, like, between what people benefit from and what people think benefits them, unfortunately. It makes sense for Teamsters to be more right-wing since they are more autonomous and don't profit from strikes. It is true that they are more disposed to this kind of bullshit than UAW would be, even if you evened out all the other factors. But, yeah, whatever. I mean, I guess at least they're not endorsing Trump. They're just not endorsing anyone, I guess. I mean, that's better than them endorsing Trump. I don't know. Take the victories you can. What do you think of this union poll? Oh, thank you for the $5. Other candidates? How much of this 6.4% do you think is Jill Stein? And how much of it do you think is RFK Jr.? Weren't unions originally a concept designed to be kind of like stopgaps for socialist sentiment rising? Yeah, to a large extent, yeah. Unions are kind of like an internal contradiction of capitalism realized, right? If you think about it, the fundamental argument of the socialist is that all the power in society is held by the capital owners. And the logic of a union is like, okay, well, what if we gave you a seat at the bargaining table? Well, the bargaining table is still owned by the capital owners. You're still a union in the company owned by the capital owners. Being in a union doesn't give you an equal seat at the table. Being in a union just means you have gathered together the workers in a framework that is already controlled by the capital owners. It is a concession. Unions are still better than no unions, mind you, except when we're talking about cops, I suppose. I've been reading more articles about blue-collar unions shifting right. Are we losing unions to the right? No, we're losing blue-collar workers to the right. The average American, the average proletarian in America these days has purple hair, works as a Starbucks barista, and is, has polyamorous homosexual sex with one of several partners every night, okay? That's the median worker, all right? The kinds of people who, work for Teamsters or, like, your average blue-collar workers out in the sticks, yeah, most of them are Republican because they're out in the sticks. That's how it is. How many people work in unions in urbane environments, right? Urban environments. Like how many people they fought for the Starbucks union, and Starbucks, started illegally union busting, a crime for which they have not been punished. Teachers. Teachers kind of hold on to a legacy union, and let's be real here. How much do teachers unions actually do? I'm not saying that they don't do good things. I'm saying that they're toothless in a lot of cases. How could they not be? Teachers get what, $5 every year? In New York, quite a bit. I suppose I grew up in California where they have like nothing. So maybe it varies like a state by state. But teachers don't get paid jack. So yeah, their unions are not securing them the kinds of rights and privileges that unions ought to be securing for people. The teachers are also the baristas. True. My mom's teachers union voted against collective bargaining. They probably were kind of compelled to, like those were the negotiating terms the state imposed on them. We've got the Boeing strike going on right now. That's fun. Tens of thousands of workers furloughed amid machinist strike. Funnily enough, the military-industrial complex is actually one of the very few like manufacturing bases in the United States that's likely to remain in the United States because the Pentagon doesn't want to buy weapons proprietary, high-tech, top-of-the-line U.S. military hardware that are being manufactured in Beijing, as it turns out. So in the long run, for national security reasons, it's possible that, well, not just possible, it's likely that like the predominant industrial base in America is going to be us making like hovering laser tanks for Lockheed Martin, which is sick in both that it's cool and morally abhorrent. Temporarily furloughing thousands of U.S. executives, managers, and other staff, citing the ongoing machinist strike as the company races to preserve cash. Pretty desperate position to be in. Tens of thousands of Boeing employees. The plan came less than a week after Boeing's more than 30,000 machinists in the Seattle area and Oregon overwhelmingly voted down a new labor contract, and 96% voted to strike. They smell blood in the water, They see Boeing's in a weak position with all all the national attention they've been getting, and they're like, yeah, we're going to sink our teeth into you now. We're getting our goddamn... If you're going to have us, manufacturing shitty, poorly sealed, nuts and bolts, not properly tightened airliners, then we're going to at least get some good pay for it. Boeing had offered a 25% raise. Opening with a 25% raise? They're desperate. Opening? And again, this is another one of the, like, I suppose, benefits of it, a lot of this being national security or aerospace related. You can't get immigrants to do that work. If you're working in aerospace, they do not want like some guy from a foreign country showing up. Hello, I am John America. I'm here to weld your planes. They don't want that shit. It's sensitive work. It's sensitive material. Sometimes you have to sign NDAs. They want that shit being, it's you can't easily replace these workers. So, because in this case, labor is genuinely scarce and the workers have a lot of power. Vosh, there was a Boeing crew that came into my bar months ago pretty regularly, and I got to overhear strike plans. That rules. Genuinely. You were like the bartender. You were like playing Valhalla for a second there. You were like a character, you know what I mean? Oh yeah. Yeah, I heard word of the strike before it went down. Some workers told CNBC the contract offer was rejected because the raises weren't sufficient enough to match the cost of living increase in the Seattle area. Yep, that's definitely true. And it didn't restore their pensions. Freeze hiring and raises to cut costs. $60 billion in debt. God damn, man. What's insane is that there's only two major players in the commercial jetliners, and the other is France's Airbus. Yeah, literally, like they're up on the road. And again, like it's such a classic example. I don't want to like sing the praises of the American military industrial complex too much, only like 50-50, But Boeing was an industry leader for a long time, and then they had a merger. Like all of this is in the John Oliver episode, the last week tonight. They had a merger, and the company's decision-making strategies got overtaken by a bunch of greedy, evil finance guys rather than engineers, and now they make shit, and that's it. And it's like, dude, if that can happen to even Boeing, if that can even happen to like integral companies in our national defensive, like in our military industrial industries, That's crazy. Like, genuine. Like, I'm not saying that, like, the military industrial complex is morally elevated and doesn't deserve to be treated that way. I'm saying it's insane that something that is held to that standard of protection could fall in such a conventional and banal way. It's humiliating. We need the Boeing union to endorse Kamala Harris. It's the only way. I used to work next to a Northrop Grumman site, and we would chat about state secrets at lunch. Pretty cool. That rules. Why is the defense industry privatized at all? That's a great question. Really makes you think. Really, really, really makes you think. Moody's put Boeing on review for a possible credit downgrade. Ha! Both Fitch and Moody rate Boeing debt one notch above non-investment or junk status. Holy shit. Boeing debt's gonna be up there with, like, your stoner cousin's get-rich-quick.com strategy 20 years too late in terms of good investment opportunities. Will you have the stones to like and subscribe? Only time will tell, no? All right, well, there goes my career. Hold on.